What's going on, Internet? Welcome back to some Nerdlocker comic reviews, and I'm starting off this week with Batman 17. And I have to say, from the ending of the last issue with the little dinner plate and seeing what the Joker's got under it, I have been so nervous to read this. But this is a very, very good issue. Scott Snyder does a wonderful job of telling a story. And by the end of this issue, it just was awesome. That's all I could say, was just awesome. I really want to see what other people think of this. I can't wait to see what everybody else thought of the ending to this. But I thought it was very well done. I thought it was a very cool way to wrap this up. And yeah, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Awesome artwork by Greg Capullo too. He is still killing it. But yeah, this book, I loved it. Let me know what you guys thought.
The always anticipated Walking Dead came out this week, number 107 specifically. I have to say that this issue was a little bit of a letdown for me. I think some of the characters that I've grown to respect at a very high level, they're starting to lose their steam. For instance, Rick, he's not really his great, outgoing self. Our villain in this story seems way too nice at this point. The only character that really interests me right now, other than the big reveal at the end of this issue, is Jesus. I mean, that guy has so much mystery behind him. I want to know exactly what he can do, what he's capable of, and all that good stuff. I've seen him fight, and I want to see exactly how far he's going to go to keep the people around him safe. So I'm going to give Walking Dead 107 3.5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey there, guys. Kevin here with my comic reviews this week. I got to read Uncanny X-Men #1 by the incomparable Brian Michael Bendis and Chris Bachalo. First off, I gotta say, Chris Bachalo, our work on this book was kind of, I was a little trepidatious towards it because I was not sure how I would feel about it. The last time I read a relaunch of an X book with Chris Bachalo and artwork, it didn't look that great. I mean, it looked awesome in his style, but it wasn't clear. It was muddy. It was like, I couldn't tell where the action was starting, where it was ending, where this was at. It just was too much. This book was really clean. It was really, it didn't have a lot of that. It had a lot of cool action scenes, but it didn't cloud up too much. It didn't not make sense. It made, everything was clear, and I don't know, it was actually really cool, like, palette that he used, and it was a really, really good looking book. I will just leave it at that. The story has been kind of building up in the other X books the last couple of months. So if you haven't been reading that, you might be a little shaky on it, especially if you didn't read Avengers vs. X-Men. But if you are caught up on that, holy crap, this issue is awesome. It has this crazy awesome ending. It's kind of like a Brian Michael Bendis staple, the way he introduces this dude who's telling you all this stuff about this character. You're finding this out. Oh my God, it's crazy. And then you find out who it is at the end, which is cool. You don't have to wait until 4 events happen to find out who it is. You find out right away, but still, jaw-dropping moment. Holy crap, I can't wait to see where this goes. 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, man. Holy crap. Wow.
Hey guys, I read Demon Knights number 17 this week, and I have never read this book before. I hadn't really heard the greatest things about it, but I just decided this week I would take a stab at it. And I definitely thought it had some interesting parts to it. The medieval thing was really interesting. I really like what they do with horses. I don't know if this is something that's ongoing throughout the series or if it was just kind of a new arc, but what this relationship that they have with horses is really, really interesting. I really like that. However, I just didn't feel like the story really captivated me. I felt like I was forcing myself to read through this book, and that was kind of the problem that I had with it. I did like the end. The last couple pages, there's a lot of action. It builds up to a big cliffhanger of what's going to happen next, and I actually am pretty interested to see what's going to happen next. So if you are a fan of this series, I definitely think you will enjoy it. I'm going to give this book 2.5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey there, nerds. Jim here with a review of Archer and Armstrong #7. As you guys know, I love this book. Valiant has done an amazing job. Fred Valent, fantastic writing. I love this book. This picks up with Gilad basically back in Roman times, and it gives us a little more history, which is one of the reasons why I like this book. We're set in present day, but they do a lot of flashbacks to ancient times, and then we also get a flashback of World War II, and it's really cool to see what he's doing. In this book, there's less Archer and Armstrong, which at first I was like, oh man, that's what I love. I love that team up, I love that partnership, I love that relationship. And there's more Gilad and Kay, the new Geomancer. but it's actually really good. I like how they do that. We get to see more of the relationship between Jalad and Armstrong. Brothers. They don't always get along. In fact, they don't get along at all. And it's funny to see Jalad be really, really serious and Armstrong not at all. And it plays off really well. I really like what they do there. There are two big reveals, or sort of teaser reveals, I guess I should say. Not going to tell you at all. Highly recommend you read this book. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Next up, I got to read Cable and X-Force, number 4. This really dives into why they are, when you read the first issue, why everyone's so pissed, why is everyone looking for Cable and the rest of X-Force. The other issues, they kind of do the whole, they show you the ending and now they're telling you the story, why Colossus is so angry. And I think this is cool. This really sets up for the book. I mean, I was already on board with this, but I really am excited to see where they go with this and how these characters handle this new predicament they've been thrown into. So I'm giving this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Let me know what you guys thought.
Hey there, guys. I got to review Bravest Warriors number 5 this week, and this is actually a book that I read when I don't review it. It's really, really fun and really cool. I'm kind of partial to it. The whole overall book reminds me of like Galaga, or like a really cool 80s style, you know, sci-fi video game, and Adventure Time and like Titan Force 5 had like a baby, and it was this comic book. It's really fun. It's really awesome. A lot of little kids can enjoy this book and think innocent fun is happening all over the place. But in truth, there's like death and stuff going on, and like really, really adult jokes, which are really funny, but like kids won't get it. You will get it if you're older than 18, and it's awesome, and it's really funny, and you should totally read it. So I'm gonna give this book 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls and urge you to check this out right away.
Hey guys, I got to read Fantastic Four number 4, and once again we have a really great issue from this story. One of the cool things is they go to another really interesting planet with a different species, and this species already knows who they are, which makes it really, really intriguing. But what I thought was more compelling about this issue was the love story between Reed and Sue. It's kind of like a little Valentine's thing for us, but it also has a lot to do with what's going on, because you kind of slowly see how much guilt Reed is feeling for this secret that he's been keeping from Sue. And we also get to see when they first met, which is really awesome. So I'm going to give this book 5 Nerd Skulls. Definitely check it out.
I also got to read the Walking Dead Governor Special, just a one-off issue all about the governor. I think this is probably due to the governor in the show. Even though they really have nothing to do with each other, they decided to rehash on that old character. But I'll say this, actually, the issue was a lot of rehashing some stuff that we've seen back in the prison days and everything like that. I felt like it was kind of a big money-making thing, but there was some cool, interesting stuff about the governor that I didn't know before. The reason why he kept, fish tanks full of heads, kind of understandable. Kind of made me sympathize for him just a little bit, not very much. Enough though that I'll give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
I got a chance to check out Katana, number 1. This is a book I was kind of excited to read, just because I know the new Justice League of America is coming out. You got this and Vibe, kind of giving you more of a story on some of these characters in the Justice League that we're not seeing in a regular or in their solo series, which I'm kind of hoping for a Stargirl series. You guys, can we get something like that? Because she's awesome. But either way, this was a good book. I'm gonna give it a couple more issues before I really decide my opinion on it, because there's nothing bad about it. I just want to see where this goes, and I want to see what they really plan to do with the character outside of the Justice League of America. But I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. I definitely suggest checking it out, and let me know what you guys thought.
All right, guys, so I also got to read Before Watchmen, The Comedian, number 5. And this hasn't been my favorite part of the entire Before Watchmen thing, movement series, whatever, epic sequel thing. It's just been, he's not my favorite character. He's not my favorite like part of Watchmen. I really don't like the Vietnam War kind of thing. It's cool, I will give it that, but it's not my favorite part of the whole universe, the whole mythos. But this issue kind of explains a lot more of his personal, like the way his brain works, and that's pretty much what the whole series has been doing. But this breaks it down to like a couple specific moments, and it has a really cool like ending. The next issue, the final issue, will be really, really interesting to see how that all comes about and where it sets him up. But you really do find out some crazy stuff in this whole series. This particular issue was a little bit slow, so I'm only going to give it 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, but I'm really excited for the next one, so I will be on the lookout for that one.
Hey guys, I got to read True Blood number 9, and I will give them credit that the book is better than it used to be, but it's still not the greatest thing. This story, we find this werewolf who's kind of like a super werewolf, but what I didn't enjoy about it was that it ends really easy. It's just kind of, there's no build up. They just go, oh, we solved the problem. So I just felt like I didn't really get anything out of it. I'm gonna give this book 2 Nerd Skulls.
I read Peter Panzerfaust number 9, and this has been an awesome book the times that I have read it, and it was always funny to me. I was so caught up in reading the story that I never even thought for a minute about Captain Hook and how he was going to play into the whole Peter Panzerfaust with the World War II and, you know, just the retelling of the story. And this, we really get the history of who would be Captain Hook, and this is really well done. I really enjoyed this. This is definitely like a smaller book, maybe not everyone knows about, but if you come across it in trade, I would definitely suggest picking this up and just catching up. This is, like I said, this is a really fun book, and I really enjoy the story of Peter Pan to begin with, so it's cool seeing just this retelling of it. But I'm gonna give this 4 to 5 Nerd Skulls, and yeah, let me know what you guys thought.
So I got to read Star Wars number 2 from Dark Horse. If you remember my review of Star Wars number 1, you'll remember that I absolutely loved it. I like how they're telling a story between episode 4 and 5. It's really untouched ground, so it's really cool to find out what were they doing? What was the Empire doing? What was Rebellion doing? I love it. This one though, the moment I saw the cover, I was a little leery because we have Boba Fett and Han Solo on the cover. I'm not thrilled with this because I know the history of the making of Empire Strikes Back and the holiday special where Boba Fett first made his appearance, and he was kind of a throwaway character. He wasn't really meant to be huge. That's why George Lucas had him killed in Return of the Jedi. Yes, I know he climbed out of the Sarlacc pit. Don't comment on that. So I was a little leery. How is he going to interact between episode 4 and 5? How is he going to be with Han? How is this going to go? And I know he's a huge popular character now, so I was hoping they wouldn't screw it up. So far, there's not much there. We just see Boba Fett following Han because there's the bounty on his head from the Hutts, which we all know from 4. So, okay, cool. They didn't screw it up. They didn't do anything wrong. Not bad. One thing I did not like, though, is that they're sort of rewriting characters. I really didn't like how they wrote Wedge Antilles and Luke Skywalker. Wedge is really a jerk. He's kind of hard-nosed, and he's not the character that we know of from 4, 5, and 6. And I was surprised by that. I didn't understand why he's like that. Luke, on the flip side, is uber cocky, which I can kind of understand, and that he just blew up the Death Star, so I guess so. But we've never seen him this way. So I'm curious to see where they're going to take this. The one thing I really did like about this book was the introduction of Colonel Bircher, who is in charge of the Star Destroyer that Darth Vader is on, but he's not on it currently because he's been reassigned by Emperor Palpatine, the Emperor. And it seems like Colonel Bircher is going to be trying to usurp some power there. He's trying to do a power play with Darth Vader, which I can only imagine is going to be bad, but it's going to be gloriously bad, so I can't wait to see how that goes. Overall, though, I was disappointed in this book. I didn't think it held up to the first one, so I'm only going to be able to give it 2.5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, but I'm really hoping episode 3, number 3, that we can take it to the next level and we really get back to 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, so I got to read Secret Avengers number 1, and man, I was really hoping this book would be awesome. If you guys don't know, I am a huge Hawkeye fan, and Hawkeye is like one of the main characters in this book. It's really, really cool, and it starts off, he's hurt, and oh my God, he's getting rescued, and it's all this craziness, and it kind of explains what happened to him. And first off, Agent Coulson and the new Nick Fury are dicks. Like, they're jerks, and I hate them. They're probably my least favorite thing that Marvel's doing right now, trying to push these characters that were successful in the movies. Oh my God, they have to be in the comic books. No, they don't. They have no place in the comic books, but they're putting them there. And I think Nick Spencer's hip to my thought. I think we're on the same wavelength because he's making them assholes. Like, you do not like these guys. They pretty much do some really shady stuff, and I really hope it comes back to bite both of them in the S, and I don't know. It was not the best book for me. Nick Spencer's writing on it was actually really, really good though. The art was a little weird to me. It was a little muddled. It's not my style, my preferred style. It was gritty and cool for the series, for the story, but not my thing. But I'm only gonna give it 3.5 Nerd Skulls. Check this out though. I kind of want to see where it's going. I think it's going someplace cool, but this issue, F those two dudes. I'm sorry, that's how I walked out of it.
Hey guys, I read Todd, the Ugliest Kid in the World, #2, and this is a really interesting story. It's about this kid who was wrongfully accused of murder, and he is definitely a child, and he's not in juvie, he's in prison. So it's just really interesting to see him interact with all these adult prison mates. It's just a unique story, and I was really, really intrigued by what was going on in it, even though like it doesn't feel like a normal comic book. It was just really interesting. I definitely recommend this book. I'm really excited to see what happens to it in the future. I'm giving it 4 Nerd Skulls.
I read B.P.R.D, The Abyss of Time, part 2 of 2. And this is awesome. This is just a really good B.P.R.D story. It's cool to have them take a break from the giant craziness that's going on in the main B.P.R.D storyline. And yeah, just all around, this is a cool little issue. I really like the first part too, and this just, it's a small story, but it's good. It's solid all the way through. If you're a B.P.R.D fan, obviously you should be reading this. So I'm gonna give it 4 to 5 Nerd Skulls.